I want this to be as meaningful as I can possibly make it for you. So is it all right if I share my screen, Lauren?
Go for it.
All right, this is my plan. Is I'm hoping that, and I'm setting my alarm. I'm hoping that I can talk maybe 20 minutes, and then think about a question that you have for me. I did a bit of a poll, and of course, it was. I also can't talk and do this at the same time. It's just crazy. As much as I Zoom, is it there?
Yep.
No. Yeah. Are you seeing my slides?
We see our photos with our smiles.
That's not it. All right. I am sorry, I had it all up and somehow it has disappeared on me. So let me just go back and pull it up again. You cannot minimize when you're sharing. So I will, oh, honestly, this is crazy. And here we were all together there. And I love technology. So, all right, so someone help me out here. It's not letting me stop the share and it won't let me get back to my screen as long as I'm sharing. So someone help me.
If you click on the stop share, what happens?
There it is. I couldn't get to the stop share. There we go. Now let me get out of here. And is this all because I tried to do a picture? Good heavens. All right. You know, while I'm doing this, do me a favor and chat into the chat box. What is one thing you would like for sure for me to talk about today? What is one thing that you would like to hear about? Or if you heard this one thing, it would be worth coming on board today. What's kind of the one biggest challenge you're dealing with right now? That would really help me. Okay, now, this has never happened to me before. So why am I not? Lauren, help me. Someone help me. So now I'm getting share screen.
Mm-hmm.
Now are you seeing my slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay! Thank you. Sheesh. God, I hate to waste 3 minutes that way. Are you chatting some things in for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see them, so Lauren, I'll let you help me with that. All right, so fear less, raise more, shine on. That's my message for today. And I'm gonna do this in part to honor my friend Simone Joyez, who we were fun colleagues, and it's just crazy to have her gone. And I've just been asked to replace her at a conference. And so I said, I can't replace her at the conference. I can come to the conference, but I can't replace her. No one can replace her. But I did today try to weave in a few of her thoughts as well in honor of all the contributions she's made. So what I want to do in our little bitty time together is chat away, put stuff in the chat. Lauren, please save the chat for me so that if somebody has a question I didn't get to, I'll reach out to you by email and I'll give you some kind of an answer or we'll connect. So chat your question, give me your email. And then when I did a mini bitty poll, I said 5 tips for major gifts right now. And what was fun about that is that as always, when I gave you an option about mindset, you all went, no, I'll put that number 4. And it was more, how do I actually do this? So I addressed that in my tips. And then we'll talk about your questions. And again, be sure you chat a takeaway for me. And I'm not going to get to a lot about planned giving today, but I have an article on my blog that's Debunk Your Planned Giving Myths. And I put that web link in here so that you can get that because planned giving is really important right now. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay. I want you all to say with me, because I'm setting the intention for this little bit of time that we have together. You know, if you've seen me before, this is how I rock and roll. Something good's gonna happen to me. I wanna hear you say it. I wanna see your mouths move. You can unmute yourself and create Zoom chaos. I don't care. 1, 2, 3. Something good gonna happen to me. Yep, and now stand up, stand up. Zoom is no excuse. And I want you to wiggle all of it. Come on, Deborah. Deborah, I see you. Come on, stand up now. Come on now. Stand up. You can do it.
I'm not feeling so well. I'm having a bad allergy attack.
Oh, well, then you can stay sitting. You can just wiggle your eyes for me. All right, 1, 2, 3. Something good is going to happen to me. One more time. Something good is going to happen to me. Okay, sit down and take a relax. You know, it really is. And my first tip is that your greatest tool to be successful raising major gifts right now is between your ears. Use it. It's your mind and it's your mindset, especially in this time, in this remarkable time we're in right now. Remembering and doing what we need to do to keep ourselves positive and energized and on board and moving forward. We've been kind of in this slumber. And I loved when I was a kid, the space shuttles, and my parents would let me stay up late to watch the moon landings and this kind of thing. And think about it now, you know, when that capsule re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, do you remember this? It would be in flames and then it would plunge into the ocean. Well, that's kind of what we're in right now. We're re-entering whatever this thing is coming next. And we're protected in our space capsule, but it's this hot, wild environment we're in where we don't know what's going on. It feels very uncertain, and then we're going to plunge into the ocean. Then that's not meant to scare you. That's meant to say that it's an exciting time and going to be adventure. So when I was 17, I got a hold of this from Earl Nightingale called The Strangest Secret. We become what we think about. I can't stress enough that right now, to be successful raising major gifts, you have to think you're going to be successful raising major gifts. And if you roll your eyes and say, oh, Marcy, I heard all that before. That's so, you know, my clients are just knocking it out of the park, and things are going so well. And I do truly attribute that to what goes on in our heads comes out through our actions, and it creates our results. We look at the fruit and we say, it's not big enough. Oh, they're not enough of them. You know, I don't have enough dollars in, or they're not for the right project, or whatever it is. We look at that fruit, but it's the roots that grow the fruit. And the roots start from our internal space, not our external space, not what's going on. All your success comes from within. You decide what you allow in your head. You decide what you allow in there. And it's never been more critical than now. Shut off the TV, turn off the news, focus on what is important for your donors, your mission, and your success. And I'm not saying, you know, but it's amazing. As little as I watch the news, which is like not at all, I find out what I need to find out, really. Fear of missing out is not a thing. You don't need to do it. And back to this focus. I care about you. I care about you in these jobs that you're doing. You're doing incredible work. It's important work. But you can only do that work your best if you're at your best. And we're under like this blanket, this COVID blanket, and it's sort of laying on us all the time. And we've got to really be shaking it off and keeping our energy. And so the first thing you need to block off is your day, at least a day a week that's for you, that you don't get pulled into anything except doing something and finishing it. And just get away from all the stuff for a while. And then be sure on your calendar, you put off your family's birthdays, important events in your family. You know, you were there when your kids were born. It shouldn't come to you as a surprise that they have a birthday. You were there. Make sure that you're getting that stuff in your focus. And then your key dates around work. And then finally, every day, I always had a list right by my desk. List. And it had my family's name and all my most major donors. And every single day I'd start out by looking at that list and saying, what am I going to do today to move one of these folks forward in a deeper relationship with my organization? And then also look at everything that's on your calendar and say, what opportunity do I have to turn everything I'm doing today as an opportunity to connect someone a major gift? So maybe you're out doing some field work as part of your nonprofit environmental work. And you think, who could I call right from here now as I'm doing this field work and say, John, just checking in. I was thinking of you now because we're doing blah, blah, blah. And I know that's something you're interested in. It's been a great piece of work today. Have a good one. Or you're having a staff meeting. And as the staff meeting is going on, you say, you know what? We just were talking about Claire Smith. Claire, or text. Claire's a texter. Claire, where all the staff are together today and we're just celebrating you. Have a good one. What can you do with each and every one of your calendar moments to use it as a time to connect? Remember, it's never about the circumstances. It's always about how we react to those circumstances. And that's always our choice. Is it easy? No, it's not easy at all. Simone dying really fussed me up, frankly. That wasn't supposed to be like that. And 2 days later, when I got a call to replace her at a conference, a major conference, Crescendo's practical plan giving conference, I was like, what? And I can't do this. This is too hard. I mean, people are going to be expecting her and there's me. And what's this going to be about? All of that was in my head. All of that was in my head. Oh my goodness gracious. After all of these years of working on how I manage my thinking, there it just went right down the toilet. And I was going, I can't do this. This will be too hard. And I just said, stop this now. Stop this now. I'm all set. All right, I'm going to jump in and do this and it's going to be terrific. And it will be terrific. So it's one thing for me to say, you choose how you react. And it's true. You choose how you react. It's always in the power you have right in your hand. You choose if somebody annoys you. People can't annoy you. You let them annoy you. But oh my goodness, can people be annoying? So it's not necessarily easy, but it's so powerful when you can say, time out. I choose how I'm going to react to everything that happens. Every piece of news I get, every email. Opening your email is a real crapshoot. My goodness gracious, you can open one and say hallelujah and open the next one and say, argh. I choose how I react. It's always your choice. If you take nothing else away from this time we've spent together today, take this in. It's always your choice how you react to everything that happens to you in your day. You have the power. And it's changed. Here's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's been some huge research by Philip Stutt, and I think it's fascinating research where he's talked about the fact that we've slipped to the basic needs. People used to be self-actualizing. I'm doing good for the earth by working with this environmental cause. Now it's, am I safe? Do we have enough food? We're really, this whole remarkable time we're in has pulled us back into some of those basic safety and psychological needs. We have to be aware of that when we're talking to our donors. If they're not responding to your lofty vision of what sound treatment of the earth should look like now, cut them some slack. Everyone's scared and fear is crippling. Cut them some slack. Personal values, according to the research, have completely shifted, where the ones at the very bottom are now the ones that are at the top. When people talk about the values that are important to influence their decisions most, number one now is helping and caring for family and friends. When it used to be being in charge and directing people. Do you see the difference? Number two is preserving your own safety and the safety of your family. It used to be being successful and admired for your achievements. Total flip in our values. It'll shift again, but keep in mind that what we're thinking about wealth and money is very different now. First off, we've got issues about wealth. We've got junk, we've got money, we've got junk around money. You know, congratulations on your new job. What will your salary be? Probably wouldn't ask that, right? So we've got stuff around money and wealth. And I want you to remember that people love to give you money. People love to give you money because you link them to the good they're trying to do in the environmental worlds you represent. People love to give you money. I wrote a little song. Lauren said I can sing, so I'm going to play the music now, and you can all sing along with me. Deborah, you'll love this, right? Here we go. People love to give me money to make a difference. Bump, bump, bump. People love to give me money. I'm the link to their investment. Sing with me. Here we go. People love to give me money to make a difference. Thank you, Cindy. People love to give me money. I'm the link to their investment. All right, I'll let you out done with that. That was wonderful. Give yourselves a huge hand. You're smiling. I like that. I had someone write me, this email stuff we talked about, and she said, Marcy, that stupid song of yours. And I thought, well, this is going well. She said, I've raised more money in the last 3 months since can't get this song out of my head than I've ever raised before. Because she walked in and said, people love to give me money. I was saying that to myself in my ask for 25 million. I wasn't saying, oh, that's a lot of money. He'll never say yes to this. I cannot stress enough. I can coach 2 people. And by how they will embrace the power of their thinking is the difference between the ones that will be successful and the ones that will struggle. I don't want you to struggle. We use these words out of our mouth into our heads. Let's hit up Joe. Put the arm on. Should give. It's so important. And now we've got so many other words to think about. As we all strive to be more inclusive and to really embrace the whole idea that we're all just people and we've all got the same wants and needs and dreams and aspirations, and we've got to embrace everybody in a way that says, I'm here to help you, whatever you are. It's just not material. I'm here to be your friend. I'm here to love you and care for you. So the words we use are vitally important. Out of our mouths into our heads, and we become what we think about. So dream, gift, and sharing. What do you think? How do you feel? How can I be of service to you? How can I help you? That's what we need to say. And prospective giver, sharing values and interests. So some of you are going to say, we've got to qualify them. Well, if people don't share the passion for your mission, all the money in the world isn't going to help you. And they have all the money in the world, it won't help you. I just can't say enough that how we view our work and what we do is the difference between being lifted up and being struggling. And especially now, we've got even more layers of junk on it. Oh, with COVID, we don't know if they've lost their jobs or how they're doing or what's going on. Just, thank you for sharing, but get rid of all that. And instead, have conversations, have real conversations, ask real questions. If you don't know, ask. You can have everything you want in life if you'll just help enough people get what they want. You can have it all, just help others. Help others do this. I know you've seen this and you know this, but my good friend Penelope Burke does all kinds of research. Why do people give? All I want you to see on here is they believe in your mission and they want to make a difference. Been #1 for all time. I've been doing this for 30 some years now. Been #1 for all time, never changed. But what's #2? Their ask. So another important thing is you do need to give a clear ask. And I'm going to hopefully do that in the next 8 minutes. I'm going to talk. But see, they believe you're stable and ethical. They extend their values. But see here, high regard for the staff. Marcy, use your pointer. They can't see your finger. High regard for the staff and volunteer leadership. Okay, that's you. That's you. So each and every one of you, people give because of you. You're part of it. People want to help. The 2020 numbers aren't out yet, not till June. But 2019, $450 billion were given. And 80% of that from individuals. So tip #1, use what's in between your head. Get your thinking straight. Do whatever you have to do. I could give you a whole section on declarations, but something good's going to happen to me is a great place to start. Tip #2, it's not about the money, it's about what the money does. And not just does, but really does. So how well you succinctly and clearly and crisply, and this can be a challenge with some environmental stuff. One of my clients right now is all about getting the grizzly bears from Canada to the States so that they can mate and increase the gene pool. It's fascinating work. And they build over bridges so that the grizzly bears can walk under and still migrate and do all these things. And they're 2 countries trying to get it together. Oh my goodness. But they are working very hard at how they very crisply and cleanly explain why it's important that they do that work. And it's been very successful. So what the money really does, here's an example. This is a school And I know you're not schools, but I want you to think, what does the money really do for environmental work, the good work you do? It's that whole idea of Mother Earth sustaining and shining and being what she's intended to be, in partnership, I believe, in partnership with us as people. There are 8 billion of us and we're here. So how do we make this work together? For this particular place, yeah, they got scholarships and this new fancy building and all of that, but they were all about, it's a Seventh-day Adventist school. They were all about having an eternal impact. And here I had to bring Simone in. Simone says, use whatever word you want, relationship building, stewardship, cultivation, but always remember this: donors give through your organization to fulfill their own aspirations. So what does the money do and really do? It's got to fit with their values and interests. Do you know my aspirations? Do you know my philanthropic story? Will you honor me with the best solicitation I've ever experienced? Tip 3, this is part of a lifelong relationship. Keep your donors. So the most expensive money we raise is that first gift. So if you don't do anything else now, look at who's given in the past and talk to them and reach out to them. And understand that right now, if somebody gave you $50 in the past and gave you $250 this year, that's a big deal, because that's a big leap for them. That's a big increase. So that warrants a personal phone call or some attention. Not just your top donors, but people who are increasing in the amount of giving they're doing with you. Here's some of you were interested in this, my cycle of successful relationships. I don't use all of those typical fundraising words, because to me, you'll be strongest in this work that you do if you can really step away from some of the jargon and the stuff and really see yourself as doing good in the world. When I ask people who are in my More Major Gifts class, why do you do what you do? They say, I want to make a difference in the world. I want to make a difference. Yeah. So let's not talk about moving them along your moves management. I'm going to move you from here to here and then here to here, and then I'll close you, and there we go. I can't imagine a person you would say that to who would be delighted to see you. Ugh, yuck. Instead, I want to look at our shared values and interests. And I want to begin a conversation with you. Would you be open to talking about this? And then I want you to know everything we do and see if that's something that brings you joy in being a part of. It's not corny, it's sincere. And I've had the stiffest suits, men and women, very formal, very professional. And when I say to them, for me, this is all about you being joyful about your giving, not me squeezing it out of you, they smile. They say, okay, we can talk about that. And engaging them until we speak that artful ask. Then, most important, and we'll talk about the ask in a minute, and understand that if they say no or not now, that's just maybe. And it just means we need to spend a little more time creating that joyful giver, having them understand what we do, how we do it, and how it relates to their passions and interests. If it does, then finally, when we're that grateful recipient, we talked about that. Be sure that, that they have such a great experience giving to you that they can't wait to say, hey, what about some more? So it costs so much more to acquire new donors than to retain them. So hang on to the donors you have now by staying in touch with them. So important. On average, recurring donors give 42% more than one-time donors. So their gifts increase over time because they love you. If you can get a donor to give again, there's 60% to donate more and more and more and more and more and more and more. So, and all of that is without that acquisition cost. All right, my next tip. 4, Oprah's helping me with this one. You get in life what you have the courage to ask for. And I think a lot of that courage comes from knowing how to ask, which we'll talk about in a second, but let's just explore this thing called fear. What if they say no and I'm embarrassed? Well, first off, you choose to be embarrassed. You decide you're going to be embarrassed instead of just saying, oh, okay. That's their decision. That's their answer to my question, and being a little bit more clinical about it. What if they don't like my project? Well, then they don't like your project. I mean, they are people with rights and abilities to be excited about what they're excited about. And I remember once someone saying to me something to the effect of, I can't believe they gave to this instead of my this. And it was angry. I'm not going to tell you where to give your money. That's not my place or my role. No. My place is to give you the opportunity to understand what you can do through me. And if that gets your juices going, fabulous, fabulous. It's not a good time now. You know what? Is it ever a good time? Kind of like having a baby. When is the best time to have a baby? Well, I don't know. Probably it's never perfect. It's never perfect. It's the right time right now. Saying no to me is like saying I'm not a good person. What if they don't like me after I ask? I understand this because sometimes we talk to people and they're our friends. And as we get to know them better, or our board members will say, these folks are my friends. This feels really icky. Talking to you about what the money will do is very different than you as a person. And it's important to say that up front. This is about something I'm passionate about and want to talk to you about. Our friendship, of course, is built on so many more things than just this. So this isn't about our friendship, but this is about people like themselves. And I'm passionate about this. So I'm thinking you might be too. And that's why I want to talk to you about it. Okay. I'm not good enough. Well, we have a lot of that in a lot of different ways. And you are not only good enough, but you have a calling. You have a calling and a mission to do what you do. It's your ministry. It's your opportunity to go out and use your passion to inspire others. You're more than good enough because you care, period. I just don't know what to say. We'll fix that in a minute. People don't like to talk about money, faith, sex, I mean, whatever it is. Sure. And the best way to get around that is, I sometimes think people don't like to talk about money. It's uncomfortable. But I think that we would agree that it takes dollars to do the good work we do in our organization. And could we have a conversation that's about money? Just talk about what you find uncomfortable. Here's my quick 3-sentence ask. You say their name, you say you have, and it's their relationship with what you do, it's why you're talking to them. Your first sentence should clearly say, why are you talking to me? You have been a long time volunteer with our environmental project X. You have been a passionate supporter of the environment as long as I've known you. You have demonstrated your caring for our watershed through X. You have been a member of our board for a long time and been key in leading this mission forward. Why are you talking to me? The next sentence, you understand. So you're complimenting them. So first off, you're telling them, this is why I'm talking to you. Second, you're saying, you understand this better than most people. And that's got to connect to what you're asking them for. So you understand that having program X will assure that Y happens. You get it. We've talked about it. Now, you don't just wrestle someone down on the street and give them this ask. No, this is after you've had those, what we call, creating that joyful giver or cultivation, but it's when you've had a chance to talk about these things. And finally, would you consider a gift of blank for the blank? And then shut up and let them think about it. And no sentence should be longer than 17 words. And that's tough. I'll tell you what, I spend lots of time with my highest level clients writing asks. And we write these things and we write these things. I think you can tell already, I'm a very spontaneous person. I don't have this scripted. I go for it. I'm very comfortable doing that. When it comes to my ask, I write it down, I practice it, I memorize it. I'm not going to screw it up. It's too important. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 quick examples because I'm out of time. Jim and Susan, you have been impactful investors, providing an academy experience for worthy students for years. They already give to this program. You understand that financial limitations keep students from experiencing our school. Not everybody can pay for it. It's private. Would you consider a gift of $50,000 to establish a scholarship? You bet. They were happy to do it. RJ, you've enjoyed sharing life with Momo, who you adopted from the Humane Society. Wow. You understand it takes resources to care for and find happy homes for animals, just like your Momo. Would you consider a gift of $1,000 to support pets and work the Humane Society to foster more adoptions like Momo? He said, sure, be happy to. Happy to. By the way, you can use this formula, if you will, in person, in an email, in a text, in a letter, everywhere, everywhere. In fact, I just wrote a 3-sentence ask to Tom Ahern to ask him for permission to post in my blog one of Simone's writings. And he said, yes, certainly. Here's one I wanted to put up for you. It's my client, Young Life, and they want to just get the meeting. They're just getting stuck there. So you've been a leader in our community and value families and education. You understand how connecting with kids who are struggling can change their entire life path. Would you consider meeting with me to hear just a bit about our Young Life work and share your reactions to our work? So for the appointment. Is this helpful, not, or something? Okay, good. Thank you. All right, because it's really fast. Now that I've said this and I'm talking 10,000 miles a minute, I'm going to say the other really important thing to do. Some of my lifelong major donors, I just take that deep breath and they go, oh, here it comes. But it's my first thing I do before I speak that ask is I breathe and I say, Marcy, slow down. Slow down. So you want to be sure they hear you. This was my son. I'm doing dishes. Mom, you've been my biggest fan and supporter my whole life. Yeah, David? You understand looking sharp for this interview will give him the best first impression. Yeah, David? Would you consider ironing my blue shirt? The son of a fundraiser. What can I say? I said, yes. You notice that each one of these questions inspires yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, you're bringing them together in agreement with you. Oops, okay. So tip number 5, I'm almost done. Then we'll get to your questions. What's important now? Not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path. So COVID's clearing our path. Splendid. Stewardship events are back. Welcome people back, even if it's not your first event. So say you've had an event, everything you do now and moving forward, welcome back, welcome back. Use this as a time to celebrate being back together again. People want to be happy and together again. Isolation is not a good thing. People want to be together. Planned gifts, donor advised funds are on the rise. People thought they might die. It's really scary. They know people who've died. They're hearing about everybody who's dying all day. What's the death count today, right? And so they're out writing their wills like crazy. The free will sites are like 4 times populated. Everybody's in there saying, oh, I got to get a will. What if I die? What if I die? Now, I don't know that all that's good, but what it means for us is that those folks who wear in their hearts, they have a heart for our work. They can very well be including you in their wills right now. We have to make a point of asking, and I don't like doing this. It's awkward. I think it's private and people don't necessarily want to tell us. But ask stockbrokers, ask lawyers if they say, well, I don't know if I can share that information. Say, have you asked your donor? Because the other side of this is somebody puts $5,000, you get a check from Fidelity for $5,000. You have no idea who it's from. And you say, I need to know who this is from. Because otherwise they will be hurt that I don't acknowledge them. And be sure that you're letting them know that this is not, I want to put your name up in a billboard. Really wealthy people oftentimes don't want a lot of public recognition. They want that anonymity, but not from you. They want to know you care. They want to know you're grateful. They want to know you appreciate them. So we have to be a little bit more, my son doesn't like the word aggressive. He says, Mom, don't use that word. So assertive. We have to be a little bit more assertive at saying, it's important that I know who this is from so that I can properly say thank you. And I forget who it is did the research. I'm a biochemist by training, so I'm big in research. Well, I'll remember, but it's that even if you put a face to that person. So I see things that trouble me on websites, look for, planned giving, info@planned giving, whatever your organization, but there's no name on the websites anymore. It's like contact, planned gifts, whatever you are. No, put a person there. Put a person there. This is real personal. Contact Marcy at environmentalcause.com. Contact Marcy and say, Marcy really cares that you're doing this. And she wants to know it's you. That when you let them know there's a person struggling because they don't know it's from you and feeling bad because they can't thank you, it's skyrocketed the number of donors that will come forward and say, I gave you money. It's very important. From attention, abundance to scarcity. This one's key. People have been locked in their houses. They're real happy to get your phone calls. Guess what? They're getting out now. So you've got competition again. Beltline used to just be nobody on it. Now I have to actually look around and be careful when I drive it, right? So we've got a little bit more challenge with getting people's time now. Just be aware of it. Just be aware of it. People crave stability, even a time of uncertainty. So the more that you do some things like they always used to be, it's important. Now, I know that some of you are saying, but COVID gave me a chance to throw out that event that we've been trying to get rid of for the last 10 years. Wonderful. But do some things that are like they always were, because we are people who value tradition and value something being the same. It makes us feel safe. People still give because they believe in your mission. Hasn't changed. Not a bit of difference. People respond to authenticity. So when you are who you are, you will have the best chance of resonating with them. Don't try to be who you think they want you to be. Please don't do that. Personal values that influence decisions have changed. I talk about that. And of course, always give yourself so you can talk about your gifts. You must be able to talk about your own giving. You must be able to talk about your own giving. And it needs to be dollars, not time. It needs to be money. You need to make your own gift. We reap what we sow. So if you want to reap money, you need to sow money. A confused donor doesn't give. A confused fundraiser doesn't ask. A confused board member doesn't help. All right. Whew. Fire away with your questions. I can turn that on, but please chat in the feedback. What aha did you learn? And I also want to just encourage you, please, 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 to stay in touch with me. Subscribe to my blog at my website, marcyheim.com. It's way on the bottom of the page and it looks like this. I'm doing my website over right now. And then know that the magic happens through you. The magic happens through you. The magic happens through you. And shine on. All right, that was really fast, but I wanted to put some things out there. Now I'm going to unshare so I can look at you all better. And Lauren, either read something that's in the chat or.
So there were some questions about how to obtain new donors.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in a nutshell, I go back to people give because it resonates with their values and interests. So I say to myself, where do people who share the values that your organization does? So for example, let me use my client in Canada as an example. This is one of the things we're working on. Surprisingly, with the grizzly bears, she is working with people who are excited about all of the beautiful spaces everywhere from Canada to the place in the States, and hunters. Now that might surprise you, and skiers who use some of those places. So she's thinking, who who values and who appreciates the areas that we're engaged with. And she tries to think of who those folks are, and then she tries to think of how she can connect with them. There's, of course, also asking people that are already on your board and already donors to say, not, who do you know that's got a lot of money? No, that's a terrible question. Instead, say, we think that people who love our organization and support us do so because they value X and Y and Z. And we think you value that. Is that true? Nope. Yeah. Well, who can you think of that shares those same values that we might talk to? A completely different question. A completely different question. Does that help a little? I don't know who asked that, so nod or something. Okay, next one.
Other questions about how good pitches and getting board members involving to give.
Okay, so I believe the question is maybe 100% of your board is not giving at the current time, and you want some thoughts around that. First off, that's another whole, who, boy, and Simone would be jumping up and down and getting really agitated right now, so I'm trying to be calm. First off, how you recruit those board members way back when is important, because as they come onto the board, you want to be clear with them that one of the expectations of board membership is that all board members invest. Now, I don't believe in setting a certain amount, because, like, for example, I do a lot with the Ys. The YMCAs will have people who are on scholarship just to be members on the board, so they have that element on the board. Well, they can't give the same as somebody else on the board might be able to give. But I say, give a gift that's significant and meaningful for you, that you're excited to talk about. Give a gift that's significant and meaningful for you. So if you have the opportunity to give 100,000 and you throw 10 bucks in just to get the fundraiser off your back, well, you're going to have a hard time talking about that one, aren't you? So I think that to inspire board giving. And the second thing is just, I get that people give their time, and I value that, and that's wonderful. And if we want people to give their time, that board member's story will be very useful. If we want others to invest dollars, they need to see that the board leads with their own giving. If they can't put it in their priorities to give, why should anyone else? It's really a very important question. And one that I'm pretty firm on with boards is that they need to be demonstrating their investment in the organization through their own giving.
So Marcy, here's a question about lapsed donors or people who might have attended your events. How to reconnect with them?
That's a great question. And that's a great question. And now's a really good time to do that, because first off, I would start, if they were a lapsed donor or coming to your event, I would thank them like it happened yesterday. I don't care if it's 3 years ago. I don't care if it's 10 years ago. It doesn't make a bit of difference to me. Thank you so much for your support of our organization. Thank you so much for joining us at our event. And truly, there can't be too much time in there. There's never too much time for a thank you. And then we're finding now that folks are excited about getting out again and being involved in this or that with us. So an invitation to learn more. But the very first thing, how do you reconnect, if it's what's the very thing you do first, is whatever, if you know what they use as their preferred method of communication, text, phone, whatever it is, or multiple, just say, thank you so much for your support in us. Here's an exciting bit of news we have today. Here's something that's just happened we thought you'd want, just a sound bite. But thank you for connecting, and you're important to us. We hope you're well. How are you managing?
Marcy, here's another one. How do you turn social media followers into new donors? These are like the same people who have signed up for your email blasts. How do you get them one step into giving? Maybe they haven't given at all.
Yeah. I'm going to answer that a couple of ways. One, I'm going to say, well, you can, you can certainly do all those things that we do on social media, like have a challenge and hope that that inspires them. Your gift will be doubled and those kinds of things. Or you can send them something. You can directly ask them for support with the 3-sentence ask I just gave you. You have been such a terrific supporter of our organization. You understand that in addition to your endorsements and your declarations of what we've done well, it takes dollars to keep our organization vital. Would you consider a gift of $50 to join others who support us? That was just written off the top of my head. I spend a lot of time writing asks. I would directly ask them. But the other thing I would keep in mind is you don't know when or how some switch flips for your donors. And there are people who will hang around for a long time. Usually they give you something if they've not given you anything at all. But a lot of times, there was a couple I'm remembering, Doug and Juanita, and oh my goodness, they were at every meal we ever put on. They were at every event we ever had. They were first in line. And, never a gift, but indicated that we had been that we were in their estate. But we didn't know that. They didn't share any copy. And there were times that people would say, are they, they're just coming to the events, but is this really? Well, they left us $3 million in their estate. But this was after years of showing up at things. So I think sometimes too, those people that are on the fringe may have different visions about dollars that right now don't let them participate financially.
Marcy, that leads right into the next question. Where do you start to establish a planned giving strategy?
Yeah. And in here, I've got debates going on right now with some folks. That's an excellent question. That link I gave you to that planned giving article, that's going to address a lot of this. But the easiest thing to do is to be sure that your website simply contains, here's how you can write a gift of will, that word, that copy is everywhere. And it's in, I think it's an attachment to the blog I had there. But I, we, bequeath, give. And be sure that they have 3 things. This is vitally important, that they have your EIN number, that they have your address, and that they have your legal name. They must have those 3 things. If they just say the New Jersey Environmental Group, well, it could be to any one of you. And you might all have a big legal fight over who that money was really supposed to be going to. So make sure they have your EIN, your address, and your legal name. Now, where I get into debate sometimes with folks is they say, oh gosh, but if they put it in their will, then it goes through probate and they could lose up to 40% of the gift. That's when you start saying, but you really should have a trust. And then the trust can, avoid blah, blah, blah. And that's when you can just see people zone out. So I think the very smartest thing to do is let them put that gift in their will. And right now, as I said, people who are afraid of dying, wills are up. Even in the tagline, even in your signature tagline, say marketing, say, consider remembering our organization in your will, or consider a legacy to the environment in your will. And then here's how, or something that takes them to a piece of information. But it doesn't have to be big conversations or events. It's like a little box of information on your newsletter. Writing your will, here's our name, here's our EIN, here's, you can impact this for all time. What's interesting about will gifts is they're not as often big conversations as they are just, how do I do it, without having to talk a lot about it. I just add one more thing to that, and that is that, I used to say when that event occurs, because I didn't want to say when you die. And one older woman said to me once, are you talking about when I die? Yes, yep. I that is kind of what I'm trying to say here, but I'm 21. I was the youngest fundraiser I ever hired. And, you're 80 something. And to me, I just don't even know how to talk about dying, because it's never going to happen to me, of course. And just try to at least get a few of those questions. Like, when you're not here anymore, how do you want to be remembered? When somebody says your name after you're gone, what do they want? What do you want them to think about? Sometimes those are a little bit easier questions to think about leaving a legacy. Okay, is there another one?
Question is, will you be sharing the slides?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I put them as a PDF because then they can get to you. They'll be a small enough file. Sure.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
And I apologize for going so fast, but we only had an hour, and I really, truly wanted this to also be, I mean, like somebody just speak up and say, what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now raising major gifts? Is it connecting with people? Is it, just being, I mean, just kind of let me know what you're running into. I'd love to know that. Yeah, go ahead, Denise, please.
I'll mute myself there. I just had one of my board members tell me that instead of doing project-based solicitations, we should maybe do a 3-year, $500,000 campaign. And I'm a one-person shop. And I think the hardest part of that is creating our statement or creating our tagline or project name or whatever you want to call it in order to differentiate ourselves from other folks.
So your question to me is it a good idea to have a pretty generic $500,000 campaign instead of talking about specific projects?
Can we do a generic ask, or do we really have to kind of market it and package it and, whatever?
Yeah. And that's a complicated question, Denise, in a way too. And I'm going to talk about it. So you go into a restaurant and somebody says, Denise, tonight, Denise, you get meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and green beans. And you say, oh, okay, but isn't there a menu? No, that's what we serve tonight. That's it, And you say, but I don't, particularly like, and or someone comes up to your table, here is your 3,521 page menu. We have selections from throughout the world. Let me know when you've decided. And you're what? Overwhelmed, right? So
Yep.
You need to have, people want to make a choice. People like to be able to make a decision, but it can't be too complex. So I think the marriage between both of your plans, that over the next 3 years, where our goal is to bring $500,000 worth of support into our organization, certainly flexible dollars that allow us to carry forth our greatest needs at the time is wonderful. But we also have a couple of specific projects for those of you who are interested in really targeting what your giving does. So one is meatloaf and one is the menu, but put down. Did that help? So my answer is both. Talk to your board member and say, because it's really up to your donor. Tell him, say to your board member, do you want meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and green beans? And if you don't, well, then we're not going to tell our donors they don't have a choice.
Thank you.
What else is going on with you all?
You mentioned connecting, Marcy. You mentioned connecting. It's definitely in last May it was everybody was home, so it was easier to connect. And now that things are opening up, people are out and about. People are making vacation plans, things of that nature. So, what are your tips for connecting with donors? And I mean, it could be really anyone.
Yeah. No, and that is true. It was one of my points in there was that time is getting scarce. They used to be there and they had nothing else to do but talk to us, and it was great. And I hope that all of you, had a chance to really connect with folks then. So I'm going to answer that in a couple of different ways. One is think about things that are less time intrusive now. So a text and an email is less intrusive than a phone call. And it's really vitally important to know how your donors prefer to communicate. It's one of the first things I ask people. I've had people get all wrapped up about they don't want to give to this. And it was just that they kept trying to call somebody who just didn't like to talk on the telephone. My mom hated talking on the telephone because she couldn't always hear well. And she loved when people sat down with her, or she loved when people wrote her a letter. Well, then if you try to call her, it's not going to work. So you really want to know what they prefer. And then the second So one is know their preferred communication and use that now, the quickest method. So not the, not the longer. We would be surprised because people would hang on the phone with us for an hour. It was great. And you're right, people are busy again, they're planning vacations and those times are gone. So now back to things that are a little bit more sharing. The other thing that I think is vitally important is when you do get them, always set up the next step, always. So I'm going to teach you another little trick here. It's not a trick. I don't like the word trick because it sounds like we're devious and we're not, but a tool. The words I promise are very powerful. So Denise, I'll pick on you seeing we've talked. Denise, was great visiting with you today. And say Denise is a really major donor for me. And this is what, May? And Denise, I promise to give you a call towards the end of June, just to see how summer's going for you and what you've got going for the 4th of July. We'll talk then. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now. So then I'm calling you at the end of June and saying, hi, Denise, remember, even if I'm leaving a voicemail, hi, Denise, this is Marcy. Remember, I promised to get in touch in the end of June. So here's my number. You'll be surprised how much they've called you back because you've set up that expectation for when you'll talk next. Now say that Denise is a low, $100 donor, and I might just say to her, Denise, I promise to get in touch next fall when I know you'll be interested in knowing how our summer has gone with XYZ project. So you can even set the time up to be later down the road. Now, the whole trick of it is, though, is you got to keep your promises or you create more harm than good. So don't promise beyond what you can do. And I see we're past our time. So do we want to, I don't want to keep you beyond the time that you're here. I understand you've all got lives, but is there something have you chatted a little bit? Has this been helpful?
Yes.
I feel like it's been so fast. Whew.
Yes, certainly. Very helpful.
Okay. Well, there are a couple things coming up. One is I am doing for AFP International, More Major Gifts. You can go to their website. I think they're charging $297. It's 2 afternoons. It's next week. And we would take all of this, and it's a good workshop. Jump on my blog. That's totally free of charge. Oh, and we were going to talk about books. So my book's normally $25, but I will send Lauren to get to you all a link for where you can go and have it for 10. And I would be thrilled if you would use that as a tool, and I'd be happy to sign it to all of you before I send it off.
Thank you.
I think that I just want to close by saying, really, I meant what I said when I said earlier that this is a calling for you all. This is something you do because of your passion to have the beautiful spaces that Lauren has in her background behind her, the work that you do. And I thank you for what you do. And I want you to all really feel that I'm here to help you and support you. You can also go to www.scheduleacallwithmarcy.com and set up some time to talk with me. And it's right there. It's free. So don't hesitate to do that as well. And just let me help you. But thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Know you're making the world a better place. And those aren't just words. We get to do this work. And it's just one of the best things we could do. So thank you for that.
Appreciate everything you said, Marcy, and for joining us today. Again, I know we were talking about raising funds in honor of Simone.
Mm-hmm.
We have 120, and we're going to match that. So we'll have $240, and we'll have a poll we'll put out there to the group, and we'll decide: are we going to have a party, or are we going to give this away as a scholarship? Is there a group amongst us who's having difficulty that may be needing the funds? And so be on the lookout for that poll as well.
Excellent.
Again, thank you so much, Marcy.
All right.
It was so much fun.
Thank you all. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's great you're getting all together. Bye. Bye-bye. Fast. Whew.